This is Sports Chat with Nat.
Greetings, Sports Chat with Nat fans. We're back. I'm Natalie W. Baker. That's Master T.
Hey, y'all.
If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow us, like us. You don't want to miss what's happening. What we're doing today, we're going to talk to you a little bit about American football, the rules, everything you need to know. This first video, we're just going to do some overview, give you a little introduction. Then we're going to come back with a more detailed video with all the penalties. But first, if you have any questions about the rules and things that we give you now, leave a question in the comments. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now, the first thing, in order to play football, you need a football field. Football field is 120 yards total. From goal line to goal line, it is 100 yards. In each end zone, it's 10 yards, making a total of 120 yards. Now, for those that are very particular, it is 53.3 yards wide. Okay? So that's 120 yards long by 53.3 yards wide. All right? Now, that's the football field. Now, those little marks, those little white marks you see on the field, they're called hash marks. Hash, like corned beef hash marks, okay? So when the ball goes out of bounds, that's where they place the ball. When at the end of each play, they're going to place the ball as close to that. They use that hash mark to figure out exactly where to place the ball, okay? Now, next, whether you're playing youth, college, NFL, it don't matter. 4 quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, each quarter, NFL is 15 minutes. Youth and high school and college can be from 10 to 12 minutes long, but 4 quarters, first, second, third, fourth, and in between that second and third is going to be a halftime. And you know, at the Super Bowl, they give them big halftime performances and all that. But the other
Last year was Rihanna.
That's right. So in between, they get a break. Halftime, they go readjust. Okay, now, before the game starts, they do a coin toss. That's what I said, a coin, a quarter or a coin that they have already depicted to use. It has a head and a tail, just like a regular coin. The away team gets to call heads or tails. If they pick correctly, they get to choose whether they receive the ball or kick the ball. That's called defer the ball. They can defer. If they defer and decide to kick off the ball at the start of the second half, which is the third quarter, they will now receive the ball. Okay? So that's the coin toss on the football field. Now, I said they were played in 4 quarters. All right, I told you that. The kickoff team, after they did the coin toss, they're going to line up in a straight line, the team kicking the ball off. One straight line with the kicker right in the middle. He's going to kick the ball to the receiving team, who is going to be in some kind of special formation. That's why they call the special teams. Okay? So they're going to be in a special formation, and they're going to try to receive that ball and run it all the way back down the field for a touchdown. Well, they don't usually do that. They usually get tackled somewhere on that football field, and they will place that ball on one of those hash marks, and then they will get some chances, which she's going to tell you about, to move the ball. But I want to tell you this little tidbit since we're talking about kickoffs. The record for kickoff returns that have gone for a touchdown.
Who is it?
Cordell
Patterson
from the Atlanta Falcons. He is currently sitting at 9. He has 9 touchdowns that have been returned for touchdowns. So he is right now the king of the touchdown kickoff returns. All right,
so make it number 10 this year.
The offensive team is the one that has the ball trying to score. And then the defensive team is the one defending, trying to keep them from crossing the goal line. All right, so I've gotten you through the coin toss, the kickoff. Now we're ready to play some football. Master T, break down some rules for them.
Are y'all ready for some football? I'm ready for some football. So I'm going to talk to y'all about the rules. So with the rules, we have it as, obviously, the goal is to get a touchdown. So how you get a touchdown? So with these hashtag marks that start, once the offense gets the ball, they're going to start off. You usually hear about these things. Usually you'll hear it like this. Once kickoff happens, you'll get the ball and you'll hear the ref or the commentator say, hey, they're 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line. All right, so what does that mean? So with this, the offense starts at the 20-yard line, and they have 4 chances to get 10 yards in it. So basically, football is all about getting 10 yards, 10 or more yards in these 4 downs. So like I said, 4 downs, which will equip to 4 chances. So 4 downs. So when you hear downs, it's the same way of saying chances. So with that, they'll move the ball by run passing. So they run it, the ball, or they'll throw. Both of them are exciting depending on who we got in our, fantasy football league / who's on the team. So within that, let's say they go and the first play of the game, maybe they hand it off to the running back who'll run maybe 15 yards downfield. So, all right. So now the offense has gone 15 yards. So they were already on the 25. Now they're on the 40-yard line. So meaning now they start again at the 40-yard line and they get a new set of downs. So because they've gotten more than 10, they are on now, so their next thing will be 1st and 10 at the 40-yard line. Got it? Mm-hmm. So let's say on these next set of downs, let's say they don't get, let's say on their first one, they do a run pass, a run play, and they end up getting 2 yards. Mm-hmm. So now they're now 2nd and 8 at the, where we at now? 42-yard line. Right? Mm-hmm. All right. Now they have technically 3 more chances to get, 2 more chances to get 8 yards with it. So let's say they keep running and they do it again, they get another 3 yards. They run in that. So now they're 3rd and 5 at the 45-yard line. Mm-hmm. All right. So now we're going to make some decisions. So they're going to try. Maybe they pass. Maybe the play didn't work. Let's say they still didn't get no yards. So now they're 4th down, right? Mm-hmm. So we're 4th and 5 at the 45-yard line. All right. So with this thing, they have 2 chances. They have 2 options. Most people are going to do this, the first one, but some people, depending on where the game is, how they defend on, how they feel about their defense or how they feel about their offense and stuff, they may actually try going for it. If they go for it and they don't get it, then the ball gets turned over to the opposite team and they're at the 45-yard line on their turf. So they mostly will not do this. So what they're going to end up doing is punting the ball to the other team. So what happens is the punt team will come in and they have their own formation too. The kicker comes and basically kicks the ball to or punts the ball to the opposite team where, of course, we were just talking about, special teams. Usually special teams is part of this too. They'll come, they'll run it back, and then basically the rules start. Everything starts back over again for the opposite team. Mm-hmm. So that is our rules of it. So now we're going to figure out how we get these touchdowns, right? How we score. Now everybody be like, scoring is. All right. So ultimately, we all want touchdowns. We want to see yes, that's exactly what we want to see. We want to see the ref be like, touchdown. So touchdowns are worth 6 points. How you get these touchdowns is as you keep on moving the ball past these 10-yard lines, which are these hashtag marks that we keep talking about. You keep on moving them forward into the end zone. The end zone is that big old area that we were talking about, how there's 100 yards between. We said the football field is 120 yards. There's 10 yards that's between each one with 100 yards. That is the end zone area. So you're trying to move the ball across that point. You can do it by running or passing. As long as that ball is across that line, you got it. There have been times where the player's body is not even in the end zone, but as long as the nose of the football is across that line, that is considered a touchdown.
And they call that breaking the plane. Sometimes they'll do those replays and they'll say, well, did the ball break the plane? Did he break the plane? He don't have to stay over there, but once that ball gets over that plane, if it just, once it cracked that plane, even if he come back, it don't matter.
He could drop the ball in the plane and it still would count as long as he had that ball in his hand.
Just break the plane with the ball, with the secure ball. That's it. It's a touchdown. Okay, go ahead. So that's touchdown. And what else? How else can they score?
Oh, I forgot about field goals. Yes.
It looks the same. They still do this.
So once you get a touchdown, usually a point afterwards. You have two options on how they want to get points afterwards. There is, most of the time, everybody usually does a field goal, which basically the kicker comes on, kicks it through the yellow uprights, and you usually see once they get it in, another same thing saying it's good. If it's not, they usually do this. No good. So that is worth 1 point. Now, there are cases where maybe a team's behind. They just want to make something a little interesting. It will be called a 2-point conversion. So with that, the players, the offense stays on the field and they kick, and they don't kick. They actually run another play into getting getting a touchdown. So instead of being, and then this one, instead of them starting farther back, they're starting at the 2-yard line. So they're very close to it. So they can run it, they can pass it, all that. They still have the options. But when they get into it, this time it's worth 2 points. So touchdowns in itself is worth 6. When you usually see the score turn to 7, that usually means that they kicked that 1 extra point. If you see the score go to 8, that means they did a 2-point conversion with it. If you see it at 6, that means they didn't get their extra point or 2-point conversion with it. So that is how offense scores. Now, offense, most of the time in football, offense scores, but defense can score too, which makes the game super interesting when defense starts scoring. Defense can score 2 different ways. One is what we know most of the time is them getting an interception or somehow taking the ball away from the receiver, whether it is a running back or a wide receiver, in the sense that they're taking the ball away, whether they punt the ball, like kind of push the ball out their hand, if they're running and take it and run it back for a touchdown, or of course, interceptions, running it back. Those are called, if they're doing a interception that way, that is called a pick six, where they take the ball and they run it back into the end zone. The second way, this rarely happens, but it's super interesting when it does. It is called a safety. This is when it's a safety. Safeties are very interesting. They're a little complicated, so I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. But basically, remember how I was telling you about how, like, if you start at a certain point, like, the offense is going to usually, they want to start as far away from their goal line as possible. Like when they kick off return, all that. Sometimes you can get negative yardage. So if somehow the player gets back, like pushed back, if it's a sack, all that stuff, you get negative yardage. Sometimes you get negative yardage to the point that the offense sometimes starts very, very close to their end zone. Maybe they're on the hashtag from the end zone. If by chance the quarterback is in the end zone and he gets sacked or the ball is taken away in that area, it is a safety with it. The defense can get a safety with it. There is also a point where if they're in the end zone, they take the ball away from the quarterback while they're in there, that can be also a touchdown because they're literally right there. So the quarterback could be trying to throw the ball, or the ball gets taken away from him and the defense gets it and is somehow still in that end zone, that's the touchdown for them. If they just stack them, then it's going to be a safety.
Mm-hmm. If the quarterback, the offensive quarterback, if he still has the ball in his hands, it's a safety. But if the defensive player gets the ball in his hands, it's a touchdown. Okay. So, all right. Is that the okay? Now, did you do field goal? If they don't get a touchdown, they can do
3 points, which is a field goal. So I know there's a lot of different scoring ways. So this last scoring way is a field goal. So remember, there's 4 chances for them to get a touchdown, right? Or not even a touchdown, 4 chances for them to get 10 yards.
Yeah.
So remember at the beginning, I said, if they do not make it to a certain point, they have the option, they'll punt it if they're like on their side. If they're still on their side, let's say they're on the 45-yard line on their territory, then they'll punt it to the opposite team to have their defense try to defend. But let's say they're on the 20-yard line of the opposing team on the opposite territory. Well, they got 20 yards to try to get, try to get a touchdown, but they're on fourth down. So they're like, we can't do this. But instead of going away to get 0 points and punting, because it wouldn't make no sense, you can go for a field goal, which is 3 points. So the kicker comes off and kicks into the uprights, just like what they do on the extra point. But only this time they do it like further back from it. So they can be like 20 yards back, 40 yards back.
And I think currently the record is like 60 something yards. And I think that's Justin Tucker.
By Justin Tucker.
Yeah, Justin Tucker. All right, so now y'all got the scoring, y'all got the rules, and now the last thing we're gonna tell you about in this video is the penalties. Little yellow flags that they throw out on the field, and sometimes they'll take their hat off and throw the hat. So, but the yellow flag is a penalty flag.
Flag on the play.
Flag on the play. That means they have broken the rules. All right, so throughout the game, if they throw that out there, it's some type of foul or penalty. It can be on the offense or the defense. We are not going into each individual one on this video, but on this video, we will tell you that things such as a face mask, that's illegal, okay? You can't grab them by the back of the collar. They call that a horse collar. Can't grab them. You can't grab their jersey, and you can't grab them up here. We're going to give you all of those things with illustrations with the official demonstration of the call. But just to let you know, there are penalties that can be on the offense or the defense. Holding, pass interference, all of those things can be on the offense or defense. But we're going to go into those details later. But we just want you to know that there are things called penalties that will be, you will be notified on the field. The players are notified by that bright yellow flag coming out on the field. Now, these penalties have been created to keep the game safer. They got new ones that we're going to tell you about with the rule changes. But for those of you that are new to football, we're going to go through all of those rules in a separate video so you'll understand it even better. But these penalties are to keep the game safe. You cannot tackle by the face mask and all of those unhealthy things. You can't lead with the helmet to tackle someone, and you cannot tackle a defenseless player, which means if they have no chance of catching the ball, you can't just run up and just knock them out. Can't do that. So we
also can't hit them while they're out. They're already out.
Out of bounds. You cannot. There are all kinds of things, roughing the passer, but we're going to go into all of those penalties and foul plays that we will talk about later. But this video has been just a simple introduction so that you can sit down and enjoy the game. Ladies, you can enjoy the game and tell them, oh, I know what that is. Oh, it's 3rd and 5. He got 5 more yards to get a first. He'll be so impressed. he'll be so impressed. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this a thing where everybody can watch the game and know what's happening. Okay? So this is Sports Chat with Nat and Master T with the rules of the game. And we're going to come back later with all of the penalties that the referees and officials will call. But this is Sports Chat with Nat. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
This is Sports Chat with Nat.